welcome to another edition of the Paranormal Zone. I'm your co-host, Tom Spitalere, and Bob's out on assignment, but he will be back next week. The Paranormal Zone is set up to have individuals come on the show to talk about their beliefs in the paranormal, whether it's UFO, whether it's paranormal ghosts, or whether it's Birdman or even Bigfoot. And the great part about the Paranormal Zone is we allow everybody, because everybody who researches these subjects come up with different conclusions. And we try to respect everybody's conclusion because nobody is right. It just, there's no proven science to a lot of this stuff. So that's what the Paranormal Zone is for, is to help people understand and learn from others who have been doing this for a long time, even longer than me and Bob combined. So for today's guest, we have a very special guest on today. You can locate their Facebook page. It's called SQUATCHACHUSETTS. His name is Dave Mccullough. He's from SQUATCHACHUSETTS, and he's a Bigfoot researcher. Welcome, Dave.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you for having me on.
Oh, no problem, Dave. So let's start off with the real basics. How long have you been interested in Bigfoot for?
Well, I've been interested most of my life, probably since I was about 8 years old. But actively, this is my 20th year of actually getting involved with it and starting research.
So about 20 years ago, you got involved with SQUATCHACHUSETTS or somebody else, and then ended up with...
I went on actually the BFRO. I attended a BFRO expedition in Whitehall, New York, and became part of the BFRO, did some expeditions with them. SQUATCHACHUSETTS, a little over 10 years now, and a couple other groups. But, it's still do some cases for the BFRO, and still active with SQUATCHACHUSETTS.
Well, that's good.
And occasionally get tips just from people that know me that they need someone to talk to or something. Sometimes it's not just to report it, but they have something going on and they need someone who will actually take them serious and listen to them.
Right, and that's real hard to find out there, because most people, when it comes to Bigfoot, UFOs, and even ghosts, a lot of people get laughed at, chuckled at, and I don't understand why. Why we as humans would laugh at somebody who thought they saw a Bigfoot, who at first probably startled the living daylights out of them. Just think about, forget Bigfoot for a second, Dave. You're driving down this wooded road somewhere in Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Vermont, Europe. We got listeners all the way out in Europe. And all of a sudden, an animal runs in front of your car. You're going to be pretty startled, aren't you?
Right.
A deer, a moose, a bear, even as little thing as a chipmunk or a squirrel. You're going down this path going, oh, this is a nice, easy ride. All of a sudden, out of nowhere comes a squirrel or a turkey even. You know, you get startled, but you call your friend and say, hey, I almost hit a turkey. It came out of the woods out of nowhere, or a bear. Then we're like, where are you? Up in the northern woods of somewhere, right? Or down south somewhere in the woods. But when you say it's a Bigfoot, they go, yeah, okay. You know.
Right. What we're drinking. They'll say either what we're drinking, what we're smoking.
Right.
That's the problem with all these topics. People, perfectly credible people, can tell anyone anything. But if they pull up any of these topics, I think just for so many years, Hollywood and TV has just made a mockery of it. That people are just, when they're young, there's nothing to any of this. It's just all folklore, old tales. But till they actually get out there, and it's just overwhelming now, not just with the Bigfoot, but with the UFOs and the ghosts. There's just so much evidence out there for all of these things. And it's right out there, but just seem the majority of the people don't care. They just too wrapped up in other stuff on that. Oh, that's a friend. There's no science to it. But actually, if you look at the scientific evidence I've seen that's out there, it's undeniable. Like fingerprints, footprints that have dermal ridges, skin ridges, all the audio, all the video. Like, how much evidence do you need?
No, exactly. I mean, there's plenty of evidence now of Bigfoot and, other cryptids out there. Now, you said you got involved when you were 8. What got you involved at 8 years old? I know you've been on the field study, but at 8, what interests you about Bigfoot at 8?
Well, I wasn't really involved, but that really stirred up the interest in I can't think of the show. Leonard Nimoy's In Search of.
Oh, okay.
It really, like, not just Sasquatch, just all the mysteries that, I got laughed at as soon as he brought it up. Like, we had a reading program in school, and everybody got to pick a book, and when they were handing them out, I'll just cut the story short, but I had a book on the Loch Ness Monster, which I had an interest in it, and soon as the teacher announced the names of the books and like the whole class just started laughing. So that was an early welcome to, you want to look at these subjects, you're going to get laughed at. So that was I actually know people that tell me on the side, I'm so into this and I believe, but they don't want their name on it, or even some witnesses that'll stay anonymous. They just turns their world upside down. A lot of people traumatized by it. Like, why don't people know about this, and why aren't they warned? They let people just go out and wander through the national parks and the woods, and they know this is out there,
Right.
Kind of like a couple years ago, the disclosure of UFOs, that, oh yeah, there actually is, after all these decades of making fun of it. And I think Sasquatch is next on the list of disclosing it. It has to be. It's either going to get, there's just too many people out there now with phones. There's tons of video. Short of getting hit by a car and getting a body, to me, it's just overwhelming. But
right.
Like I said, the majority of, if you pulled 10 people aside in the store and had like 9 out of 10 people are going to laugh at you, and there's nothing to it. But they don't put, an hour into it as far as looking up information and looking up the body of evidence that's out there. It's easy to just quickly deny it and laugh at it and just like brush it off.
Right.
Oh, you're one of those. So I still get made fun of, so it's really kind of numb to it now.
Yeah, I still do. You just ignore them and you keep moving forward. That's all.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Someone wants to be that immature in the world we're living in right now to make fun of somebody for being a ghost hunter, a Bigfoot researcher, a UFO researcher, a dogman researcher. It doesn't matter. It's like, okay, I have no time for you. Have a good day.
Exactly. It's not even worth the time now. It's not even a question of belief anymore. It's just, they're out there, all these things. There's just so much around us that it's above our heads, and I don't know if it's different dimensions, different wavelengths of existence, that the stuff's just right around us. Almost like hiding inside, I always say.
Mm-hmm.
They're not. It's, I used to think they'd be miles and miles out in the wilderness. I don't think you have to travel as far to come up with stuff like this. I've seen not to change gears, but 2 years ago, I seen a UFO in broad daylight right in my town.
Right.
And I'd swear on a stack of Bibles I know what I saw. And so that's what I mean by knowing and not believing. It's like, wow, it's beyond belief. It's
Correct.
I don't believe they're out there. I know they're out there. I saw
Mm-hmm.
them with my own eyes. I haven't a Sasquatch, but I've been around them. I've heard trees breaking, a couple howls. I've had some good vocalizations. Not a good record in 20 years now, but enough for me to know. I'm short of seeing it head to toe. I've seen it in other ways. I've heard the noises and just the presence. That's what a lot of people say. It's before their sighting is.
Right.
You just had a feeling. Your hair goes up. There's either a different frequency that they can just come and go. I used to be really hardcore against any of that stuff, but now my eyes are open to that something has to explain I've heard so many people say it was there and then it was just gone. I turned to a guy I talked to in the Bridgewater Triangle. He took one step, turned to grab a flashlight, and he looked back and it was just gone. And that's, hundreds or thousands of people have said that.
Yes.
And
it's
just unexplained.
Right. And many years ago, right around the time of COVID, okay, Essex County was going out doing different things, okay? We were still doing cases. If you called Essex County, we would have came out to help you, okay? I mean, we'd take precautions, but we'd still come out. But I started a show called Tom Live. And in a small little New England town not too far from Lawrence, Massachusetts, I'll even tell you what town it was in, Tewksbury. At the Tewksbury State Hospital graveyard in the park, the walking trails they have, if you're familiar with that area. One of my investigators, I didn't go that day because something had come up. We went back a week later. We couldn't find the footprint. One of my investigators, former team members, actually got a print of something, a photograph of a print of a Bigfoot, right? And then shortly after that, it was rumored around town that a monkey was released from somebody's house, got out of its cage.
Right.
Because people were talking, no one ever found this monkey, okay?
Right.
And these were found in April and May. So, I mean, we're talking the warmer weather was coming. It wasn't like November here in New England where snow's coming and, if a creature can't make the winter here, they die. All of a sudden, they're talking about a monkey escaped. I'm like, yeah, okay. A monkey escaped.
And their feet are totally different. If you look at one and the other, they come up. But see, that could have been something just to push it aside and put the fire out.
Right, because
that's been in a lot of areas in New England over the years of not just Bigfoots, but big cats.
Right.
Oh, it was an escaped exotic animal or, something like that. I don't know too many people that have pet monkeys. I think in Mass you have to be an exotic animal person.
You do. So I don't know many people with pet monkeys.
No.
So I actually got a chuckle over that one because, I mean, I have a lot of different age friends I hang out with from my own age till some of them have passed away, okay? I've actually talked to guys that actually worked on the original 495. And there were Bigfoot sightings all over 495. From the Andovers down. And, of course, if you think of 495 built in the 60s, from the Andovers down was probably pretty wooded.
Yeah. A lot of it still is.
A lot of it still is, correct. I mean, you got Andover, you got Tewksbury. Lowell was a city back then, so that's not going to be – that was a city from, day one. Knowing Drake, that was all woods. So it wouldn't be much to hide a Bigfoot. I know in the 70s there was a Bigfoot sighting in Haverhill. We actually interviewed the guy, but he didn't want to use his real name. But I was able to confirm his story.
Right. As you go down, especially by Littleton, Northborough, Southborough, Clinton, a lot of those towns is very heavily wooded.
Right.
And heading through, too, heading out towards Leominster.
Right.
A lot of
wooded towns. Now imagine how wooded, if they're really wooded today, as we know, Dave. Imagine what they were back in the '60s when they were building Route 2 and 495.
right.
There was nothing out there, nothing at all. You know, so it actually allowed people to see these things. I mean, there are plenty of sightings that have been written down in the 70s of Bigfoot sighted here in the Merrimack Valley, Newburyport.
Yep.
So,
yep.
Now,
it's all connected.
Oh, it's definitely all connected. Now, you've been doing this since you were a kid. You got interested in this, right? So what were some of the early books you might have read? You already talked about where you watched it on TV.
Right. I've read some books by Lauren Coleman.
Yeah.
Dr. Grover Krantz. Just a few of the early researchers. There wasn't a lot of info about it. You couldn't go to the library and get it. It was usually something you would get through the mail or any of these. Now online it's simple, but
back
then there really wasn't a lot of literature on Sasquatch.
No, you'd have to find an oddity book, like a sci-fi book or something.
Right, they were rare. John Green had some books. Actually, like quite later on, Roger Patterson has a book that came out before the famous film, and so he was into it for years before. A lot of people think he just got the film and got famous. He had been out for years before that, already casting tracks and doing research. In fact, he found one before the film, roughly in the same area. And, it's then in 67, he got lucky, in my opinion. He hit the lottery that day. And they just caught one off guard. It was the perfect conditions. It was right next to a kind of noisy brook. And it didn't hear them coming. They came around the bend, and there it was.
Yeah, and the camera was running, so it was like the perfect storm.
Yeah, and now there's a lot of new work on the film that someone that came up with like an original copy.
Yeah,
and has the light to it now. His name's Todd Gatewood, if you look it up. But I bought couple really new pictures. The face is like unbelievably, incredibly detailed of how much it's brought out in it, just the face alone. And he sells them now, but all the money goes to the Indian reservation, Native Americans, where the film was taken in Willow Creek, California, and Bluff Creek.
Oh, wow.
So it's all legit, too. So the detail is amazing. Like, as time goes on, the technology just blows this film into undeniable, in my opinion. You cannot believe the detail in, like, the new images of it. I mean, right down to the eyelashes on it. If you zoom in on the face, you can actually see the eyelashes and, wrinkles in the skin, the muscles.
Oh,
so
wow.
That's a lot just coming out earlier this year. It's just being released.
Mm-hmm. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. Now, let's get back to Bigfooting in New England and Massachusetts. Now, have you ever seen a Bigfoot?
No, I haven't.
Okay. How about a footprint?
Nothing enough to cast. I've seen some interesting tree structures, tree breaks, but nothing. No, not a good, clear footprint.
Well, yeah, they don't want to get a perfect foot. That's like hitting the lottery too. You're better off going to play the lottery if you ever find one of those too.
Right. I found basic. You're lucky if you even see them. I've never seen a bear track in a while, but there's lots of bears. I've seen beaver, turkey, common. That's about it, and that's around water. So, especially with all the leaf litter in the Northeast, it's really tough for good. You need a nice open pasture or along a waterway, along a good sandbar, a lake or pond. You got to get really lucky. And I think in these areas, they're kind of more conscious of leaving a track to them.
Right. Well, that's
And
interesting.
speaking of tracks, what's more baffling is the ones I was telling you earlier, what leads me to different beliefs now than I had 20 years ago. That, you know, a lot of tracks, especially in the snow, that just stop. How do you, that stuff's a fake.
Yeah.
There's some good ones that come out in the last couple of years of a helicopter pilot. You know, this is up above where a lot of people are. This is like up in the mountains that they were just following it, and it just stops. So, what happened to that? Did it get abducted by aliens? Did it dematerialize? Did it walk backwards on it out in the middle of nowhere? It's just, with me, you rule stuff out. And that's what leads me to, there's something else that we don't understand, how these can come and go, it seems, in our reality.
Right. Now,
like to physically have tracks just stop. Like, what happened to it? How did it just stop?
Disappear.
Right.
Now, I have a question for you. I was doing some research way up north in New Hampshire and Vermont. Okay? So down here in the Ossipee Triangle, Southern Ossipee Triangle, we actually call them Bigfoot. I believe it was the 1930s. I'm trying to remember what year it was. They were sighted up in the North Country, and a logger called them the Wood Devil. Have you ever heard them be called the Wood Devil? They're a smaller Bigfoot.
Yeah, up in Maine, too, a lot of the Native American tribes, the Wood Devils. Is that what you said, the Wood Devils?
Yeah, Wood Devils, correct.
Well, I heard that. I actually heard that in some Northern California tribes. Every Native American tribe had different names for them, all roughly relating to Big Hairy Man. They call them the Hairy Man, the tall ones. The other tribe, the other people, the mountain people. There's a list and list of, every part of the country, whatever tribe that was, they had their own names for them.
Right, because they said Bigfoot could get over 9 feet tall, but Wood Devils are like between 7 and 8. That's how one of them described the difference. And Wood Devils have a grayish hair, where Bigfoot has like a reddish hair.
Yeah. Yeah, I've heard also mountain devils up in New Hampshire. Yeah. I heard.
So, do you think these are the same creatures or a subspecies of something?
I think they just nicked different names for them, and I think there's more than one kind myself. I think there's more. One, in my opinion, in Patterson, they call them people out there, the forest people.
Yeah,
they look so much person. I think the majority of over the years, how many reports I've read in different parts of the country, they're all either like the Patterson creature or it didn't look so. I think there's both. I think there's one that's more Neanderthalish type and looks more human. And I think there's one that when people say, no, it looked like an ape or a gorilla or could be different. Again, these are all theories. Anything you ask me, it's just theories that I think of. But genetic manipulation, it seems like there's 2 or 3 different kinds. And there's a lot of reports from the early Native Americans that they interbreeded with. They kidnapped women out of the Native American tribes. They wandered off too far.
Mm-hmm.
Some have come back a couple of years later.
Oh,
but I think that's why so many. I think that's why so many people have. There's hunters that have had it lined up in the scope, and that have said, "I couldn't shoot it. It looked too much like a human, strangely human." That description's been many times. Just its stature, its walk. Mm-hmm. Walks upright like a person, 5 fingers, 5 toes. A lot of the some DNA has come back with a unknown female human with, a female woman with an unknown hominid. So, there's been some mixing going on. It's a lot of theories out there with that. Did I lose you, Tom?
No, I'm here. I'm listening to you. You got me fascinated tonight.
Oh.
So.
No, but there's a lot of that they'd kidnapped them right out of their, away from their tribe. I know some researchers I met in California when I first started going out that way. It really opened my eyes when I first went out west, where it was really more accepted, because you're in these out in the middle of nowhere in these very tiny communities where to them it's not a big deal. It's just another part of the fauna.
Right.
And the landscape that they've grown up with it. They were, always instructed, don't go far from the house, especially if they were out gathering, blueberries, whatever they're out there gathering. Be careful. Don't go out alone. Be in before it's dark. And a lot of them would say that, I don't know if you're familiar with the missing 411.
The missing 411. No, I'm not.
That's a whole new category of missing cases in national and state parks all around the country, which been going on for years. But it's suspected that a lot of them could be kidnappings from Sasquatch.
Yeah, but, I wouldn't be surprised.
And out there a lot of their names for them are the forest people. To them, it's not an animal. And they have them in totem poles, and they've wanted them paintings, depictions. There's even California, there's cave drawings.
Yes.
With groups of them. Excuse me. So, that there's more history of it out there. Even still now, the East Coast is still kind of cold, not cold to it, but it's more a fringe topic and less accepted. I've noticed it. All those states, Washington, Oregon, all the way up into Canada. Canada, it's really huge. Long history of it, all the way up to Alaska,
right
down to California. It's just more part of life and more accepted. I just think that there's better geography for them. A very lot of forests and mountains.
You're right about that, but we're killing off their habitat every day with all the development going on. And I think that's why we're seeing more and more. Would you agree with that one? Because there's more development and less woods to hide.
I do. And like I said, there's more people carrying phones now and cameras. It's right in your pocket now or on your lap, that when someone sees something like this, that a lot of good video in the last 4 years that still gets denied or, bashed.
Right.
Even from, I'm not sure if you're familiar with, there's a dash camera video from Georgia where the ran right in front of a police car. Now, How was that a hoax? Are these two officers going to risk their career over something they ran across?
Right, a high school prank? No, I doubt it.
Right.
I
Yeah, on a
highly
busy
doubt
highway.
it.
So it's just. I think that's the only thing that people will accept is bringing a body in, but I couldn't see killing one over it. I couldn't see that at all. That's like I said, I don't believe it.
No, I don't either. And, there was a show on, I watched one episode, and I'm not too proud to say I watched one episode, but I did. Because I was interested to see how they were going to do the show. Okay?
Yeah.
It was called Killing Bigfoot, the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen in my life. Now, I know a little bit about hunting. I come from a family of hunters. Lesson 1, don't shoot at anything you don't see.
Right.
Well, how many times did those clowns out there in Georgia, wherever they were from, were shooting into the dark woods?
Right.
Now, what happens if some kid was just walking out in the woods or in his parents' yard, because there are no boundary lines out there for the most part?
Right.
He's gonna get hit. That's just stupid.
That was, I think, more for entertainment. And the last, I'd say, 15, 20 years, it's kind of become more mainstream and more shows coming out about it, because it seems like a hot topic that a lot of people are interested in it, in my opinion. If you go to any of these conferences, I've spoken to a couple, I've attended many of them.
Yeah.
They're all full, all sold out. They're all, there's flea markets with the stuff. There's a million things online you could find with the Bigfoot on it that, anyone could make something, because nobody really owns it. It's not real, right?
Correct.
It's like it's been used for everything in endorsements. The beef jerky, you can go on forever about what's been endorsed.
Right, the Yeti coolers and the Yeti drinking mugs. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Now, some of the areas, obviously there are areas you can't talk about, okay?
Yeah.
Or locations. But I know there's one area that's one of my favorite areas in Massachusetts to go take a walk out in the woods. Now, folks, before we say go take a walk out in the woods, make sure you got proper clothing and proper shoes on, please. We don't need anybody getting hurt in proper clothing or in proper shoes. Right, Dave?
Right.
That's, I think, important, number one. Bridgewater Triangle. Have you had any sightings reported? Now, yes, you'd have sightings down there, but you don't have to tell us exactly where. That I'm never going to ask you. I'm just letting you know that right up front. So have you had any excitement down there?
I've investigated a few BFRO.
Yeah.
In Hampton. Middleborough seems to be a place with several sightings I've heard about in the last few years. In fact, a couple of weeks ago, I was sent an interesting footprint in the snow, which wasn't casted, but it was a nut going through the bogs.
Yeah.
And that was in Middleborough. So I really don't mind saying where anything, because I think the odds of anyone going where I said something and one being there are astronomical.
Right. Well, the way I look at the way I look at Bigfoot, Dave, and you probably do in a way you may or may not. So when Essex County goes into a house to look for spirits, most of the time the spirit's either going to be there or it's hiding from you, right? The UFO world, if right now my phone rings and Essex County UFO or New Hampshire UFO, whatever we're calling this thing, we get a sighting. I'm in Lawrence on Essex Street right now. We're broadcasting, from the James R. Ross Memorial Studios. I get a call to go to the Abe Bashira boat ramp, which is about a 5-minute ride from here, because a UFO was sighted. By the time I get there, it's long gone. I think we can agree to that one.
Right.
Same with Bigfoot. We get a call to go up to, there's a wooded area, Denrock State Park. It's located right on 114. It's about an 8-minute ride from the studio where I am right now. I get a call that there's a sighting of a Bigfoot there, and they tell me exactly where to go. What are my chances of seeing it?
Right.
Slim and none? More like none.
More, yeah, probably. That's why I don't mind, like, people are so secretive about, this is my research area, don't go there. The odds of you going where there was a sighting and there's one there, it just, if it was that easy, there'd be one that'd have one in a zoo or a cage. If it was that easy to kill one or
capture one,
people, I need a body. They got to bring a body in first. All that other stuff don't matter. Of course it matters. I just think it's funny that people there's no proof. There's a lot of proof out there. You just got to look.
Oh, yeah.
It's just another denial things. And I thought when I started 20 years ago, actually going out and looking, that this will be solved in a few years. This will be, I get in right in time. I thought this would be, all right, this will be discovered in no time. With all the tech and all the gear out there, all the people involved now looking. And it's just more baffling now than it was then. How can this not be solved? There's sightings in every state.
Right.
So
now,
that tells me there's something else to it that we just don't understand.
No. And I don't think we'll ever understand it.
Right. And people, I'll get one. A lot of people in the South are out. They want to be the one to. I'll drag one in. I'll sign $1 million check too. And
right.
I don't think anyone will ever get close enough to sneak up on them. They can't be trapped. They can't be lured in and just taken. That's what tells me it's not just another animal out in the woods. Because any other animal, you can bait them in. You can, why don't they walk in front of game cameras more? They don't, because they're smarter than that. And they either pick up on their frequency, they smell them. You see cases where other animals just walk right up to them. They know there's something there, but they're just sniffing it or checking it out. So it's either the buzz of it, the frequencies. I think they're just a step ahead of us, and they always will be.
Now, I have a question for you. I've asked other Bigfoot researchers, and I think you and I have had this conversation privately before, because I've kind of thought this. Now, people have seen Bigfoot at the top of a mountain. They get to the top where their Bigfoot was. You can't see him anymore, right? So one would think, well, maybe they went around the mountain and climbed down. You go around the corner, and there's a 5,000-foot drop. Now, if any creature, whether it be a cat, a dog, a deer, a moose, if they're falling to their demise, they're going to let out some scream, aren't they?
Right.
No one's ever heard the scream, and there's no way they climb down this area. So my question to you is, do you think these creatures are interdimensional?
I wouldn't doubt that now. I would have laughed at you a long time ago, but I can't rule that out because that partly explains why they're just, what the word I'm looking for, undocumentable or classified. They just, why? And that could be part of the footprints disappearing. Or some people have seen it go behind a tree that is half as wide as it, and where did it go? There's just so many cases of that now that I want to say about 8 years ago, there was one in New Hampshire. A guy seen it walk right across the path, 50 yards ahead of him. Briskly walked right through into the trees, and he got to kind of like a trail. And he had 2 dogs with him. He hustled up to that trail, figuring there was a field. I'll see it running through the field, and there was nothing. He said I was there in 5 seconds. And when I looked at the field, like, where did it go?
Right.
There's just too many cases of that. And a lot of the few people talking to out west said the same thing. One of the words they had for one of the types actually meant that it makes you forget. Okay. Or it makes you, it cloaks itself, and you just think it's a shrub or a boulder or something, and shapeshift. There's got to be something to that.
Yeah, I've heard that too. So, I mean, there's just so much out there to explore, and these creatures have always mystified me. In fact, it was this creature that got me into the paranormal. In reality, I always found you had Dr. Spock, okay?
Right.
I didn't have Dr. Spock. I had Dr. Oh God, give me a minute. I just was watching one of the old episodes right before you came, right before I called you. Actually, I had Dr. Stark with me.
Yeah.
Dr. Stack. Robert Stack from Unsolved Mysteries. That's got really got me hooked into this field.
Right. That all the topics. Actually, on Leonard Nimoy's In Search Of, I was more into the UFO and Loch Ness Monster. Reading books on the Loch Ness Monster about the researchers there that were just staying at there all the time and just looking. It fascinated me, really.
Yeah.
The guy from Boston actually got some great pictures, and that was the book I read, and that just kind of put the hook in. And so Bigfoot was the last on the list. Of then as I get older and more information come out, more books, more the internet actually, where you could go into the BFRO and all these other sites and read sighting reports and what was actually out there as far as stuff that's been found. You name it, video, audio, footprints. The casts themselves to me a lot that have been found about either injured feet, deformed. It's just stuff that you can rule out hoax. There's a ton of hoaxes out there, though, too. But when you can separate, that's what really murks the water up a lot, is the fake stuff that's been out there, fake videos, fake...
right.
You name it.
Well, that's been a problem even in the UFO field and the paranormal field. It's these joyriders that want their 5 minutes of fame have actually tried to destroy the credibility of the UFO, the paranormal, and the cryptozoology field, which is partly studying Bigfoot.
Yeah.
I always laugh when I see the videos online, but I get aggravated. I ask people, usually take them down. You could tell it's a hoax a mile away, and they're like, oh, look, someone just caught a Bigfoot on their phone, and you're going, yeah, sure.
Right.
Yeah,
there's been a lot of that, especially with the AI now.
Oh, the AI has been ridiculous.
The animation.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not an easy guy to get tricked on things, and I got tricked on one of those real shows.
Yeah.
The one that they were bringing up, the killer whales and taking all the things that would stick onto them from the ocean, and the whales would just stay there while they got cleaned. I mean, what are those sea things that stick onto the fish and they suck them? They live off their blood. sea
Right, the barnacles?
barnacles, yes. So there were these videos for a while, but I found a way to get them off my phone, where these killer whales would come up looking for help because there were so many barnacles on them, and there was this group that would clean the barnacles off of them.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah,
that's
I've seen a couple.
Yeah, that's all AI.
Yeah, there's so much out there now that, a lot of it now looks fake. You can kind of tell, but the handheld on someone's phone, it's tough to. They can tell it's either been manipulated or. But there's been a lot of good ones that someone just whipping their phone out quick and catching, like the end of it or.
Right.
If you look, there's some really good ones, legit, in my opinion.
Oh no, there are a lot of great ones that are legit. I'm just putting the warnings out there that this AI stuff is not legit at all.
Yeah, it's a lot easier to fake now.
Oh yeah, a very lot easier to fake right now. And that's what's bringing the people who want this field to be a joke, making it a joke. That's helping the government hide these things instead of bringing them out forward. And you've had some voices. You've heard some voices down the Bridgewater Triangle. Bigfoot. Yeah, you've sent me a couple things through the years.
Yep.
Where was the most compelling Bigfoot sighting or voice you ever heard, if you can mention it?
It was probably the last thing that happened 2019.
Okay.
I was in east of the Quabbin Reservoir in Petersham, I believe it is. And that was a tree snap and the tree smashing to the ground. Not a big, huge tree, but a handful, a sapling.
Yeah.
That was literally heard it snap, and it was dead quiet before it happened. So you could really hear the crack echo, and I would say no more than 50 yards away. I was with 3 other investigators, and just being quiet. And I heard like a rustle. I thought, I'm thinking, like the old joke is, hey, did you hear that twig snap? And I was joking. I goes, did you hear that? It must be a mouse or something jumped out of a tree, just joking around.
Right.
I said that. Afterwards, I yelled, hey! And I yelled it pretty good. Who is that? And that's when it happened. Like right after I yelled, hey, you could hear the snap and the branches hitting the ground like it was pushed right over to the ground.
Oh,
and we all just froze. And my friend had a thermal, and there was nothing. So that was baffling also. That's actually happened 2 or 3 times where we've had thermals and nothing, but we hear something around, but there's just nothing there. Like, where's the heat signature from? What pushed the tree over? And, did it just drop behind another tree or a boulder? But we looked good, and there was nothing. So something pushed the tree over that. Again, I can say right now, I didn't see what did it, but I can rule out other animals around the Quabbin Reservoir.
Right.
That didn't do it,
And that's a very interesting place, the Quabbin Reservoir, because they took out towns, and there are still cemeteries that they never finished cleaning out underneath the reservoir to make Boston's drinking water.
A lot of protected lands, a lot of right around it, like you said, 5 towns. That's a big area. Mm-hmm. And an area that had history of stuff going on down there. Some sightings we did for SQUATCHACHUSETTS. We did several right within the park itself. One was from a warden, so that was again, remain anonymous. Don't get involved, but I'll tell you because he knew he knew Jonathan Welk from SQUATCHACHUSETTS.
Right. I mean,
but that's not to be published. That's not to be. But I'll tell you, it was one of those. Wink, wink. I'll tell you on the side, but please don't publish this. Please don't bring any attention to it, because it's his job. A lot of people fear for their job.
Exactly. I mean, I get that all the time in the Bridgewater Triangle, and even in the Ossipee Mountain area, in the Ossipee Triangle, which I've done a lot of book research on. I've done some work out there. Essex County's got a case this summer we got to get out there, where this girl has heard wood knocks, growls, and everything else. It's pretty regularly all summer long in the Ossipee area.
Yeah.
So we got to get out there and get moving on that case. I just haven't had the time really to do much with that stuff because it's been crazy busy. So we miss out on, and that area is well reported as, the Ossipee Triangle, just like the Bridgewater Triangle. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids. That even got lake monsters in that area. The little Ossipee monster, the lake monster of Ossipee, New Hampshire, of Little Ossipee. So, I mean, we have a lot of stuff. There is a lot of stuff here in New England, a lot of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And it's going to be...
That's right.
What?
A lot came up the last couple of years from former federal employees that they're told, while you're doing that, you didn't see nothing. Like, don't talk about it. And then, like I was saying, a lot of them now are retired or coming out with that stuff that they did see stuff. And if you look at besides the Patterson film, the famous, probably the best famous film is the Freeman film, Paul Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah, he's an ex-Forestry Service worker who got the bug and started going out and tracking them, and, tons of tracks. In fact, he has a famous handprint, some knuckle prints. He was really onto a lot, and he got some really good video. That one's undisputable too. That was, but going, not to change the subject, but he was a former employee, and he was told not to talk about it.
Right.
So he was like, "Oh, yeah, I'm going to go get a video on it." It took him a few years, but he did.
He got his video. Yes, he did, and it's a very good video too.
Yeah, he stuck with it, and but I think a lot of park rangers, and they just want to keep their jobs. And in fact, around the Quab, and the one that gave us a story, said a coworker had pictures on his phone of foot tracks, and he just smudged them out with his boots, and just nothing to see here. And it was in an area where it most likely would have been seen by someone, and bring attention to. So that was just like, we'll smudge it right out of the dirt. We didn't, but I'll take a few pictures of it before I smudge it. But it's interesting once you get the bug.
Oh, anytime you get the bug into this field, once you got it, you got it. It's hard to shut it off. It really is. Yeah. So have you ever been called up to the Ossipee, New Hampshire area, or no?
No, not up that far yet. I've had some interesting video of a tree coming down on someone's property from 2 weeks ago, but not that far up. It was Dunbarton. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Oh, yeah, Dunbarton. That's right outside of Concord, yes.
Yeah. Yeah, again, that's not far from a busy city.
No, it isn't.
But nothing from the Ossipee. I've read some good reports from New Hampshire in the past.
All right, so Dave, if someone thinks knows they got a Bigfoot and they want to talk to you about it, because they obviously can't talk to their friends or their coworkers, how would someone get a hold of you guys so you can help these people? that need somebody to talk to about their Bigfoot sighting?
Yeah, I've spoken to several people that needed it and put them at ease slightly. But, yeah, either find me on Facebook, SQUATCHACHUSETTS on Facebook. My email's dmcc4595@gmail.com. That's an email. Mostly through SQUATCHACHUSETTS on Facebook, or my name on Facebook, and yeah, I'd be glad to talk. I know I've helped a few people out that were like just troubled by. They just need an explanation for it, and I kind of put them at ease that like one woman was actually while she was telling me about it, she got pretty emotional, and I said, "Oh, so you said this follows you, and she owns like 10 acres." And she was walking on a trail with her dog, and she goes, "I know this thing was following me." And it's happened a few times. So when I start, and I've heard this a million times, when I stopped, it stopped. When I started walking again, it started walking again. That is like so repeatable in cases of people walking in the woods or on their property. And I just said, I goes, "Well, you said it's happened multiple times." She goes, "Yeah." I goes, "Well, if it wanted to do something here, it's had more than enough opportunity to acknowledge it like it's your neighbors and just say, I'm on my land. I mean, nobody any harm." And I think that's they pick up on people's thoughts and intentions if they're out hunting or if they're out looking for them. Especially, they obviously know what firearms are, so I think when they see a group of hunters or a good, pretty knowledgeable person in Northern California told me that they go in clans. If you see one, they're not alone. Like you might see one, but they're not going to be. There's others around, and that's how they alert each other with the wood knocks. In my opinion, the whoops of "I'm here, where are you?" And they said they keep a couple guarding entranceways of parks and hiking trails where if they see a car pull up and people get out, that's when we've actually heard it a few times. When we first started, we wouldn't. We'd just pull up in the car, get out, talking, putting your gear on, and making noise, actually, slamming the doors. And now, if we do, we just get out and be quiet. And You might hear that 2 knocks just to, like, alerting the others. And they say, that's what they were telling me, that they call them sentries or lookouts, that they just, okay, anywhere people can access into the woods is going to be an eye kept on it.
Well, and
that's where that could be that big knock comes from. One loud knock could be, okay, yep, there's people around, on your guard,
Right. Well, that's like when we go in. That's like, Dave, when you go into a house doing ghost hunting too. While you're setting up the equipment, you'll see something out of the corner of the eye. Now you got the camera up all night and you catch nothing. Same idea.
Right. Right. It's like when you least expect it. And we've actually said that a couple. Hey, did anyone have a recorder going? Yeah, no one had a recorder. Like I said, we just pull up, get out, people shooting the breeze, getting their stuff together. You don't realize it, but, most animals, they'll hear you a mile away or smell you or get your vibration that you hear stuff walking along the trail. You'll still hear stuff up ahead just getting out of, getting away from you because they hear you coming.
Right.
That's why they say that's why the natives hunted barefoot, because the sound of your boots making in the ground, crunching leaves. Just your smell. Just, we come in, unless hunters don't, they mask their scent, but generally us, we got our soaps and our shampoos, and I think anything's going to know you're there a mile away. That's why I've never seen a bear. I've never seen a bear in the wild. I've seen moose, I've seen deer, I've seen other animals, but they say they have the best sense.
Right.
They'll sniff about a mile away that you're just trouble. They know I'm coming.
Well, Dave, we're coming to the end of this great show, so give us a holler one more time how people can get a hold of you if they have a Bigfoot in their backyard or wherever.
Actually, if you don't mind, if I just tell you I'm doing a couple shows this summer around Mass and New Hampshire.
Yeah.
And if I could just say quick, June 7th, I'll be out at the Cobble Mountain Bigfoot Conference. That's out in Cobble Mountain, Russell, Mass. June 21 and 22, I'm at the Charming Fair Farm in Candia, New Hampshire. July 26th, there's a Paranormal Truth Seekers Expo in Nashua, New Hampshire. And September 6th and 7th, I'll be at the Greater New England UFO Conference, which I've done for a few years. It's always a good time. But also, Dave Mccullough on Facebook, BMCC4595 at gmail.com if you want to email me, or SQUATCHACHUSETTS on Facebook. Those are probably the best ways to reach me.
All right.
And I'd love to help you out. Anyone out there that has any questions, I don't have all the answers, but I can tell you by you telling me what you have going on, if you know how to accept it and how to deal with it.
Well, we want to thank you, Dave. We'll have you back on for sure. So thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Tom.
No problem. I want to thank all my listeners that have been listening across the Europe, the ocean, Colorado, into Washington State, even up in the northern New Hampshire Bigfoot territory. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. This is the Paranormal Zone. We'll see you next week. Oh, before I forget, there are some big things coming up real soon that the Paranormal Zone will be doing. So we'll keep you in touch with that. You can keep in touch with that on our Facebook page, the Paranormal Zone, or you can keep track on the Essex County Facebook page, or any of the other many Facebook pages that we have. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Have a good night, everybody. And I'm heading back to my crypt. Good night.